Thanks everyone for coming. I'll do a quick introduction of myself. I realized I forgot to do that from the beginning. My name is Seth Rotberg. I am the Partnerships Manager at Inspire, and we are excited to be partnering with the Sturge-Weber Foundation on this webinar called After the Diagnosis, What's Your Plan? Before we begin, just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's program is being recorded, so a link to the recording will be sent to everyone who is registered. Please be sure to check your inboxes for this email. We're hoping to get this out to you by the end of this week or at the latest early next week. We'll be taking questions at the end of the program. However, you can submit your questions at any time using the question sections on your control panel. And please try to be as general as possible in your questions because we cannot provide any individual medical advice. Also, if you are, for some reason, having any technical issues, don't hesitate to use the questions function in the control panel to let us know. And without further ado, I am going to introduce our two speakers for today. First, as maybe many of you already know, Karen Ball. She currently leads the foundation in forging new inroads for patient engagement and research. As a past recipient of the Betty Ford Award, she continues to be nationally recognized for tenacity and vision. Karen is an editor, author, leader, and a 32-plus year advocate in patient advocacy. Karen has co-authored textbooks on Sturge-Weber, as well as contributed a multitude of articles on subjects on patient advocacy. She's also had board participation, including March of Dimes, Colorado, served on the National Organization for Rare Disorders board, also known as NORD, for 10 years, serves currently on the American Brain Coalition Board of Directors, served as the vice chair of Rare New Jersey. She's also a former teacher and Up With the People alumni. Karen has two inspiring children with Sturge-Weber Syndrome and autism. And our other speaker for today, Josephine Suarez. Josephine comes from southeastern Connecticut and is a mom of 5, which includes Juliana, whom is 16 and diagnosed with Sturge-Weber Syndrome type 1. Josephine comes with well over 25 years of experience in the field of differentially abled individuals of all ages and abilities. Josephine currently works in the social work field, supporting children of all abilities and their parents fight for their rights within the school systems, mental health system, and ability support systems. So I'm going to turn it now over to Karen to begin her part of the webinar.
Thanks, Seth. I appreciate Inspire. I want to welcome everybody to this webinar. It's been a long time in the planning, and I'm so tickled to have such a diversity of folks attending. And we hope y'all enjoy it. And please jump in and give us your tips and tools. This by no means is a be-all and end-all. So appreciate it. And I'm also excited to have Julia Terrell, the Foundation's Community Relations Director, join us at the end to field your questions. So look forward to this. And y'all know I don't know everything, but what I know, I'm more than happy to share. So basically, the way I want you to approach this is, just take what we have, add it to your own, share. The first rendition of the plan that I put together came back in 1990 when my daughter was 4 years old. Basically, I was going to multiple medical doctor visits and emergencies and things like that. And so I literally got a 3-ring binder and I said, okay, here's when she had a seizure. Here's what it looked like. And here's, where the medicine happened. And then when I got a little bolder, about 4 years after she was born, and I do recommend that you don't wait 4 years to have a babysitter, because you and your spouse or your significant other need to have that time away. But basically, it took me about 4 years before I got a babysitter, and so we would also put things in that binder for those who took care of Kaylin. And then, I think I over the years I've heard different people say, oh, I feel so guilty, I should have done this, I should have done that. Try to get rid of the word should out of your vocabulary, because all we can do is really prepare to be the best that we can do in any situation. So, cut yourself a little bit of slack. As I said earlier, this is an overview of plan items that we've utilized in my family, Julia's family, Josephine's, and I'm so excited that Josephine has such a wealth of information to share with y'all, and she's doing it today. So let's grab a cup of coffee or your lunch, and let's have the next slide. Okay, so these are a couple of things that we have included for diverse areas of support in education that you'll need. So after the diagnosis, whether it's Sturge-Weber or any other rare disease, you want, obviously, your first go-to is your family and friends. They're there to uplift you and give you suggestions. Especially in the early days, take it with a grain of salt, and always try to understand that most times they mean well. Take the advice if it helps you. If it doesn't, put it on the shelf. Because the main thing is, obviously, that we want to support our loved one who has Sturge-Weber or another disease state the best we possibly can with what we know at the time. And then really quickly after that, your healthcare team comes into play. Usually it's your OBGYN. That's the first one, obviously, that sees that there's a little bit of a difference there. And then it could be your glaucoma specialist or neurologist, dermatologist. A lot of times when y'all see the birthmark right off the bat, that's the first thing most parents want to take care of. So get your team together, and Josephine will talk some more about that. Community organizations as well. There's a wealth of resources out there that y'all can access. Remember, our favorite line is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And for those of us that have been down the pike for a year or two, we realize that we kind of have to settle into it and exhale. I always tell people, just exhale, and then you can take a breath in. The medical plan, that's really what started that 3-ring binder for me. In that medical plan, you want to have a home plan. Whether it's for caregivers, when to give medicine, when to, discard it, how to discard it, that type of thing. School, daycare, camp, and sleepovers. Believe it or not, there will come a day that, your child might have some friends that says, hey, we're having a sleepover, I want y'all to come too. You don't want to overreact in a situation like that or stigmatize the child. So kind of on the down low, you might want to tell the mom who's hosting the sleepover some things. And same thing with daycare and camp. Get your plan together for that. Travel. If you're traveling, whether for medical care or just fun and frolic, which I absolutely want to tell y'all, there better be a lot of fun and frolic, because there's many things to celebrate in the life of a child that has Sturge-Weber. I just can't tell you. I could tell you a lot of stories about Universal Studio, but that's for another day. And then also devices, advice, and support. When I was raising Kaylin, there wasn't really anything, to alert people. So nowadays, I want y'all to access all the things that you can that brings the best safety for you and your child. And then also, we put under their medical power of attorney. That is also very, very important. And I can't stress it enough that before they turn 18, that is something that we really implore that you do. Whether they're typically developing or, obviously if you have a guardian or trust support, you'll put that in there, but something to really think about, because you never know what's going to happen. All right, next slide, please. All right, so after the diagnosis, which again, we titled this, What's Your Plan After the Diagnosis? you younger moms and dads, and even adults. I mean, we may have some adults on here that are diagnosed, and you and pick and choose the different areas that we're going to discuss today to obviously fit your needs. But you want to get your A team together. Your first instinct, like I said, was your family and friends. And then you want to also be sure that the contact information is there for whoever will be looking after your child, whether it's the emergency room or grandma and grandpa, which I can't stress enough either. You need to rely on those folks. They've got a lot of wisdom. The other thing, it's kind of one of those things, do as I say, not like I didn't do, unfortunately, but I'm getting better at it. After 32 years, you'd think I'd learn a thing or two. If the caregiver goes down, I'm not saying the whole thing will implode, but your three-legged stool is going to be a little weak. So y'all take care of yourself, and whatever you did before your diagnosis, if it was playing tennis with your girlfriends, getting a massage, getting your nails done, just sitting in the bathtub so nobody can access the room, just take and give yourself the emotional and physical strength to run this marathon that you have been given in your beautiful, beautiful self and baby. The other thing that I've learned over the years is the 3-day rule, and I was never so grateful to learn about this one because, any of y'all that know me know I have ADHD and I can really just spin out. But so I try this, and I encourage you to do it as well, because the reality is that if you're noshing over something and gnashing your teeth over it any more than 3 days, that's just self-flagellation. You might as well just get a whip and just whip yourself, because that's about all you'll be doing. So one day, wallow, worry, have what we call in the South a pity party, and whatever that little pity party entails, have at it. Second day, get with your peeps, get with your family, your friends, your husband, your significant other, your healthcare folks, and say, okay, so what can I do about this? How can I, right this particular crisis of the moment? And then take time and pros and cons of your decisions. Okay, if I do this, what about that? If I don't do that, and also, again, like I said, give yourself permission to not know everything you think you should know, because that's why y'all are so lucky to have the internet out there now, and so you can pop on and get your questions answered. Also, with that in mind, before I turn it over to Josephine, is always remember that in today's world, and y'all probably already know this. I mean, again, I'm a dinosaur in a new age here on the online, but I always take everything with a grain of salt, and I say, does this matter to my family? Is it the same as my situation, or is what this person is telling me really what I should be doing, or is it more important for their family? So just drill it all down to two things. What is the impact for my family and my child or myself? And then also, it's okay to complain a little bit, but if you complain, you're going to remain. And that is not a good thing. So, all right, I hope y'all enjoy this. And, please put your questions at the end or your suggestions. Maybe you've got some resources that we haven't thought about or that have really helped you, and you'd be happy to share. So thanks so much for joining us today. And I'll turn it over to Josephine.
Hello, everybody. So let's go a little deeper into what Karen was just telling you guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about family and friends. It's important to have a good support system when it comes to your child, no matter what the diagnosis is. So with that said, yes, you're the leader, but sometimes you have to let go and ask for help. It's okay. So not all your immediate family members are going to jump on board and be like, I'll come take her. It's not going to happen. But find someone that might. There's going to be a time in which you're going to be going to the hospital and you need that support, not necessarily at the hospital, but maybe for your other children or your spouse at home. There might be a time where you're getting a phone call from the school and your child is being transported and you're leaving work and you have a kid that's getting out of school later on and you're technically home usually, but guess what? Now you're sitting at the hospital and who's going to get this child from school? So you want to look into some family members that are near you. Not everybody has immediate family members near them, which is okay. So find some friends that you know that are willing to help out. It might be your child's best friend's parent or a family member that you've gotten to know. You really want to find those people. The other thing you want these people for is for emotional support. I mean, there's going to be those days when you're just so frustrated. Believe me, I have those. And you need to be able to reach out to someone and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need your support right now. I kind of need your just ear. Sometimes they have resources that you don't even know about, or they can come up with a plan that you didn't even think of. So you definitely want to have a wealth of friends or family members. You can look at your churches, your synagogues, your community. You can reach out to the Sturge-Weber community, even online, and find parents out there. I've got quite a few from different countries that sometimes they say, hey, this is what we did. What are your thoughts? What did you try? And they can offer up the information that you just don't have or you just can't find. So definitely build yourself a team of family and friends. You even want to build a team where if you have to go to, say, I'm in Connecticut, I have to go to Boston. Well, I reached out and I found a couple of friends that I have out there that are willing to, come sit with us for lunch or invite us over for dinner because we've got a long treatment, or a place where we can crash for the evening because the next morning she has a scan or something. So you also want to look at resources that are around the areas in which you'll be traveling. Some families have to travel quite far. Some families are lucky and they have their services near home. So think of that as a broader picture. All right, so let's move on to our healthcare team. So your healthcare team. This is the healthcare team that you're going to have pretty much probably for life. As our kids grow, obviously we have to go into the adults, but all of our stuff kind of transfers over with us. If you're lucky, you get like a dermatologist or an ophthalmologist or a neurologist that might treat children and adults. That would be awesome. So you want to look into your team. So put together your team along with your child's medical needs. So for me, I have a child who's 16. She has a pain management team. That pain management team also reaches out to her pediatrician, her neurologist, her ophthalmologist, and anyone else that we may need to help with our child. They can also actually reach out to your school system and check on your IEP to see if you have all the right accommodations to help the child as well. We've done that. It works. So you want to look into the different providers that you're going to need. Remember, this is your team. It's the team that you can reach out to when there's an issue. So you've got your pediatrician, your pain management team, your dermatologist, your endocrinologist, your neurologist, or ophthalmologist, or glaucoma specialist if you have glaucoma. Physical and occupational therapy, cognitive behavioral therapist, family psychotherapist, nutritionist. You could have a naturopath. There's so many that you can have on your team. That's the team that you need that's going to work behind you and help you get through whatever it is you may have to get through. All right, so let's move on to our community organizations. So there's lots of local and national organizations and online forums that you can actually join, and they bring a world of support 24/7, and I use them, let me tell you. So with that said, there are some special ones that kind of go along with the Sturge-Weber Foundation and Sturge-Weber Syndrome. We have an online forum and as well as Inspire, in which you can reach out and get advice. And this advice is really great. You may be talking to a parent who tried that medication that you're trying that's not working, and then they tried something else. You can take the recommendation back to your medical team and say, hey, this happened for a child just like mine, and this happened to work. Would that be an option? You can reach out to the SWF Foundation. They have lots of great resources and sometimes even funding for camps and stuff that will suit our children's needs. The National Federation for Families for Children with Mental Health. Yes, along with Sturge-Weber, sometimes there's that stigma and that mental health that may come along with it. It could be the mental health of I look different, or I'm always in pain and I can't go to school. So then you also want to look out into the Children's Eye Foundation. So your child has glaucoma. Maybe they need a special accommodation or a special tool to help them get through, in order to make it through life with their problems with their eyes. The other thing is you want to listen to the Department of Developmental Services. So I'm in Connecticut, it's called DDS. I'm not sure how other states are, but here, when your child has special needs and they have a very low IQ, you can reach out to them and they can provide services above and beyond what your health insurance and your healthcare team can provide. And then they kind of follow your child for life if you qualify. If you don't, that's pretty cool too. You just have to look into other resources that are within your state, because there definitely are some out there. When they're younger and they've just been born and you've gotten that diagnosis that they have Sturge-Weber Syndrome, or they just have a birthmark like my daughter was told, or they have a seizure, you want to look to birth to 3, because in our state we call it birth to 3. Other states they call it something different, but it's that birth to 3-year-old time in which they can provide different services to help your child make it through and successfully get into the school system with all the therapies that they need, which is like a service that I kind of provide. So I kind of know like what they do. It's pretty cool. They can actually catch on to things before you catch on to it when it comes to like learning disabilities. And then you also have to reach out to the Board of Education. Now, if you've gone through birth to 3 or your program and you've got the diagnosis and there are some delays, you can reach out to your Board of Education, because they may have programs like preschool programs that your child can enter into to receive some extra services to help them catch up to what the other kids are doing at their age. All right, let's move on to that medical plan. So here's that plan. You need that medical plan. So what happens if you wake up one morning and your child has a seizure? You're supposed to be going to school and to work. Wow, let's pull out that medical plan. We're going to the hospital. We have this plan in our hand. The doctor's like, what's going on? You can hand them that medical plan and be like, look, there's everything you need written right there from birth to now, including all of your medications, all of the therapies you're going through, your whole entire medical team, their contact info, any reports about their health, any of their treatments that they've been going through or they've tried. It's all there. You literally can go in, hand them this little binder, and sit with your child. They have what they need. There's no need for them to come in and continuously ask you questions that are answered in this binder. So along with that, you also want to have one for the one that you keep in the house, one that you can travel with, one that you keep in your home. Also have one prepared for school, for daycare. Daycare is a big one because your kids are under constant eyes the whole entire time, and you never know what's going to happen there. And then you also want to think about camp, or when you're going to work, whoever has your child for a babysitter, whatever it may be. Traveling, so you want to have one that goes with your travel. So I do a lot of road trips with my child. We've gone out to Colorado for the conferences, and we've taken her medical information with us, because if we're driving and she has a seizure and we're going to the nearest hospital, they don't know my child. You do. So you have this binder to also hand to them and be like, here you go. This is her in a nutshell. Everything you need to know is right there. It's very helpful, and I've used it a couple of times without traveling. The other thing is when your child gets a little bit older, so they're 16, they haven't had seizures in 8 to 10 years. They now want to get their license, and they get it, and now you're petrified of driving on the road because they're driving. You want to have that medical plan available in their car, in their glove box with their car insurance and their registration, because if something happened and they had a seizure on the road, the EMTs and the police are going to open up that glove box and see the registration, the insurance card, the medical plan. They're going to take that with them when your child is going to the hospital. The other thing is knowing that you have that, it makes your life so much easier, because you're not trying to remember when was the last time she had an EEG, when was the last time they had an MRI, when was the last time they switched their meds, and oh my God, what's the dose that she's on now? All right, so moving on to the home plan. So at home, you may have emergency seizure medications that you can use for long seizures. Where are they? Where are they located? What's the dosage? You never know. Maybe you stepped up to the grocery store and grandma was visiting and grandma needed that information and something happened. Or you have a babysitter that's coming over. You can point them into the right direction. So like have a spot in your home in which all of this information is. Along with it is great directions on how to give the medication. So some of these medications are rectally, some of them are orally. I'm not sure if there's anything that you give them with shots. I wouldn't want to if they're having a seizure. They could be tablets, it could be a spray, but you want to have those exact directions and post them with where the medication is. Make sure all of the bottles are labeled well. And what I do, I actually hand the meds over to grandma, so she takes care of all of her medications. But she puts them all in the med cases so we know which one's AM and PM. And having those labels is great because you never know, you have to walk out. Having that medical binder again, for the babysitter in your go bag, you never know. We have a go bag just in case we end up having a hospital stay. Once you go with your child to that hospital and they say you're staying overnight, you might not have an opportunity to run home. We keep a little backpack with some little extra essentials in our car. It might not have like clothes in it, but it has like a blanket and has some little rations of snacks, some digits to help you get through, some cards, books, something to help you get through while you're there at the hospital stay. And so you can get someone that's on your team to come out and like rescue you. Make sure you have all of your contact information for all of your medical team. So there's that medical team again. You need all of that information in that medical binder. So that way you can say, call Dr. So-and-so. He will give you the latest update. Maybe you went to the doctor a couple of days before and had a chance to put that update into your book yet. So have those with you. All right, moving on to school and daycare. So when they're going to school, daycare, summer camp, maybe day program, respite for the weekend, whatever it may be that you're accessing, you want to make sure you have written directions. They may have rules in what they have to do. So if a child is having a seizure, they may automatically call the ambulance. That's okay, it happens. But they also might have a nurse on staff that's willing to sit there with the child, giving, up to like 3 minutes of having a seizure and is able to give them the emergency medication. I know that your doctors have to fill out forms, but you also want to be coming up with a form that will give specific directions and also some little information of if you give her this medication, the seizure will end, but then this is how she's going to feel or look afterwards. And this is what you can do to help her get through it. That binder is also good to hand to the EMS when from the school. So the school can actually give it to the EMS who are taking your child. So the school's obviously not going to get in that ambulance, but you're on your way from work and that EMS team that is taking your child to the hospital, they have the information. If they make it there before you do, that information was then handed off to the hospital and they can continue care until you get there and not be blind. On to travel, like I was saying, always keeping your stuff with you, keeping a binder with you. My daughter has a bracelet. She hasn't had it on in a little while, but it has a QR code that you can scan it just in case. That will give you all of her information, all of her medical information, all of her doctor information, everything that you need, the hospital would need, if there was an accident, just in case you become like separated. Also having extra things in the car. So if you have a child that has seizures, you want to have extra clothes because you never know. They might have an allergic reaction to something. They might have a headache. Wipes to clean them up if something happens. When we travel, like we went to Puerto Rico, we got travel insurance because if something happened with her, at least we knew our trip was covered and we weren't like wasting thousands of dollars on a trip that we could finish or go on because she had a issue. Let's see, when you're going places, so you want to make sure you have the information for local hospitals. So I know that Sturge-Weber Foundation has a pretty large clinical care network. And a part of that clinical care network, there are doctors that you can reach out to. And if you're traveling, so like we went to Disney, first thing I did was, all right, where's the nearest hospital? Who at the hospital should we contact if something happens? When we went, I actually sent medical records down to the hospital and had them hold on to them just in case something happened. Thank God we didn't have to use it, but we do that when we go on long trips. Just because even though I have the information with me, I have that binder, she knows everything, you know, you never know. Just have that, it's going to help you when you travel. So ease your mind and know that, you know what, if we get there, we need care, they've got all the information that they need. All right, moving on to devices. So along with those devices, you can get all kinds of different forms of necklaces, bracelets that are medical alert. You can also get shoe tags. And these shoe tags you can get with her information on it or his information, or you can get them with a QR code where the doctors can scan them. And they do look, they look. If they have a cell phone, make sure that it is set up with their medical information and who to contact in case of an emergency. If you're needing another device for your child, I know that maybe some children have had a hysterectomy and they are making it through life with their braces and stuff, and they want to like ride a bike. There are adaptive bikes out there that you can get. Those are great for physical therapy as well. Weighted blankets. Weighted blankets is another thing. Like my daughter loves her weighted blanket, and this helps keep her calm, especially after she's had, you know, a rough day. Oh boy. So seeking legal and medical advice and always read medical support early is perfect for these kids. So when they're getting older, so I've got a child that's 16. She's going to be 18 when I blink my eye again. And if you don't have medical guardianship over your child or guardianship over your child, they might not take the best care. So they might not access the doctors. They might not get the medications that they need because they turn 18 and they know it all. So you want to start between 16 and 17 to start looking into getting guardianship over your child. So that way you can make those medical decisions for them. With all that said, as Karen well knows, the years tell us much that the days never knew. And oh my gosh, you never know. I look back and say, man, I wish I knew that then. Focus on every moment and cherish them. I love Karen's 3-day rule. It's so worth it. Time will fly back. I'm like looking for pictures from Juliana when she was born to put into her video, and I'm going back like, oh my gosh, look at her face. Like her birthmark was, you know, I mean, she was little. She had a little face, little birthmark. Now she's bigger. She had a bigger face, a bigger birthmark, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look how she evolved. And we didn't do any of the laser surgeries like other people have, so it's pretty cool to go back. And I celebrate those little victories that we see. Where she was seizure free for 8 years. Then all of a sudden she had another seizure. Different seizure. She had a heck of a seizure, but it was different. But then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, but you needed 8 years. Let's try to do for another 8 years. Having a plan for your child, no matter what your diagnosis is the best thing in the world to have. It's going to help ease your mind. You're going to be able to go back and be like, you know what, I'm good. So she had a seizure, change her binder, fix her, and then continue on. So I wanted to, I think I'm done. And so I'm going to say thank you. And we look forward to all of your questions and your comments. We'll make sure that we get the information out to you as well. So I'm going to hand it back over. And I believe it goes to you, Seth.
Thank you, Josephine.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Julia. She's going to kind of oversee this fun questions and answers portion. So Julia, take it away.
Yes, no problem. Now that we like to give everyone participating today a chance to ask questions. If you haven't already, please use the question function in the control panel to submit your questions. We'll do our best to address as many questions as possible. If we don't have a chance to answer your specific question today, we encourage you to post your question in the Sturge-Weber support community on Inspire. We do have a question already. It states, if my daughter is developing at a normal rate and is headed off to college, do I need a medical power of attorney? At this point in the game, and Josephine, if you want to chip in if I'm going down the wrong path, I would say definitely you would want to talk with a legal team. Unfortunately, with the syndrome and many others, you know, things happen. So I would definitely talk with your legal team about getting a medical power of attorney, just because you just don't know what will happen. And you want to be able to be prepared when it comes time to do so. Josephine, do you have anything to add?
Julia, no,
I don't have
absolutely,
anything.
because you never know when you're going to be in the ER, and the person who's been diagnosed is unable to answer, and by law they can't. The nurses and doctors really can't do anything if they're over the age of 18. Obviously, before that, you're the parent and they can work with you, but you just never know. The other thing, real quick, while y'all are putting your questions in there, that came to mind is also in this plan. If you are so giving in nature and are willing to participate, it might be a good idea to have contact information for the Maryland Brain and Tissue Bank in the event that there's something happens and that tissue could be given to help us find out more genetically what's going on there. I don't know, Julia, is there anything else that on the research end you think might be good to have in there, just to alert someone?
I agree with you, Karen, 100% about the tissue bank, because it's something you don't always think about until it's almost too late, because it's an emergency situation. So something ahead of time. The other thing that I, maybe not so much research, I definitely would recommend, just in my experience, is, a lot of times we talk about in our plans in school and so forth, we talk about IEPs and 504 plans, to make sure that you include a health plan. A lot of people don't talk about a health plan when you're going through these meetings in school age and then going forward. And what's nice about a health plan, if you put it in place, every state has one of some kind. They may call it different things in each state, as Josephine mentioned, because things are called differently. But one thing you can do is go to your fire department too and share your health plan with your fire department. And what will happen is a lot of times they will upload your information. And we do have a great emergency room guide also that you bring with it. And then when you get a phone call from that area or where your child goes to school, it will automatically come up on their screen. So they already know about Sturge-Weber or any other situation. And you can do it at your home address also, so that they'll already pull it up and know what to do as they come to get you. So it's definitely a good point to bring up. And I was thinking about it when you brought it up earlier, because all of these pieces are just ways to be prepared for the next thing.
Same thing with your with coworkers. You can share it, with a trusted coworker in the event something happens at work, or if you've made the plan to transition your child to a group home like mine is, you obviously share all that with them. And the reason I brought up about the research is, real quickly, and then I'll let all the questions go, because y'all better have some questions. If you don't, then I'm the wrong one leading this seminar here. But for instance, the other day, Kaylin had a lip reduction surgery, and I am literally in the room waiting for her to get wheeled into the OR, going, oh my gosh, I gotta get this tissue. And so for once in my life, in 32 years, I was focusing on my baby, not worrying about research. But I don't want that same thing to happen to y'all, because we desperately need that tissue to give you the answers that you need. So be prepared. I was a campfire girl, not a Girl Scout.
Thanks, Karen. We did have another question here. It says, should my caregivers be CPR certified? It's not a bad idea if it's a constant caregiver. It may be a little bit much to ask for if you're just going out for dinner and you ask your mom to do it and ask her to get CPR certified real quickly. But it's not a bad idea, especially if the seizures or things that are going to happen to your child is something where maybe they do stop breathing, because that does happen sometimes. So that after a couple of the seizures, you kind of have an idea of how things are going to happen. So it's not a bad idea to have CPR certified caregivers. And typically at school and daycare, that kind of thing, they already are in those situations. Ladies, do you have anything to add on that? I guess we're good on that one. Moving on, I'm pulled in many directions with online people saying I should travel to get the best care. We have limited funds and I want the best for my child, but what should I do? We live in an exciting age right now where that can be an issue for sure. And what's wonderful about our clinical care networks and others, you're able to consult. So it's one thing to get a second opinion and do things and go and travel to some degree, but I would definitely have a team in your backyard. At least that's my opinion as a mom, because when emergencies happen, they're going to be at home or somewhere in that way. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a team that you trust as that A team that we talked about earlier. And consulting, a lot of our clinical care networks, especially, they are more than willing to consult with your team. So if you at least make that connection up front and know that, they typically will, as the doctors have questions. I've been in those ERs where you have 9 doctors standing there because my daughter was the white elephant in the room having her first set of seizures. And I know it's very frightening. But at the same time, with a good plan in your back pocket and having a binder like Josephine talked about, it really goes a long way. And you are able to feel more secure. This diagnosis and many others like it are very frightening. But I can assure you that there's 3 moms that are here today that can tell you that to breathe is definitely the next question or answer kind of thing. Karen or Josephine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking when you said that, again, this plan is mostly, American based, but in any country you've still got the same set of resources that you can access. And also, if there are folks from another country on the call, y'all can also send those records to, like Julia said, to have reviewed. You don't have to, you can send them electronically or snail mail or whatever. But I would encourage that because, there aren't always experts in our particular, backyard, and y'all just save your pennies for the fun stuff.
Well, I think the last question I see that we have so far is thank you. There was a lot of information today. Can I review it later and where? We will be sending it out. The slides will be posted on our website, as well as you will get a electronic copy as well by email later this week or the beginning of next week, as we said in the beginning. So if there's any questions, we're definitely available as well to take those questions after. Shoot over an email to the foundation, and we're more than happy to help. But I think that's all the questions we have. Do we want to leave it open for another moment, or? But I think that's all the questions we have at this time. Well, I can say we're so glad you could join us today's webinar. Please check your email later this week or early next week for a link to the recording of today's webinar. We look forward to bringing similar programs to you in the future. Thank you again for your participation and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you again, everyone. And as Julia said, thank you to not only our attendees, but also for our presenters. So thank you again, Sturge-Weber Foundation, for partnering with Inspire on this webinar. That's very valuable to our rare disease community.
And Seth, we thank you too for helping us get this off the ground. We appreciate you.
All right, take care, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.